Hi, and welcome back to GradLife, the YouTube series where I talk about my life post-graduation. So, graduating can be stressful. I'm not going to sugarcoat it. It's this thing that you build up for 3 years, you work towards it, it's like something you fixate on almost for 3 years, and then it suddenly happens, and it can be quite overwhelming. Now that I'm 3 years post-graduation, I'm going to share with you the things I wish I had known to make that transition a bit easier. So, first things first, prep for graduation should not start at graduation. You want to give yourself a couple of months to figure out what you want to do and to kind of work your way towards that decision and figure out how you're going to do it. Maybe you want to go into postgraduate study. Where do you want to go study? What do you want to study? Where are you going to get your funding from? Maybe you want to go traveling. Where are you going to get the money from? Where are you going to put your things whilst you're traveling? Maybe you want to go straight into industry. Nice. What connections do you have? How are you going to utilize those connections? Is your portfolio up to date? All these questions are things you need to really... What was that noise? I was like, dogs could hear that. These are all the questions you really need to start asking yourself more towards January, February. Basically, as soon as dissertation stops taking over your life, figure out the answers to these questions, and then you'll have something to work towards. Looking back, I could have planned a bit more financially. I wasn't broke when I graduated, but it was certainly it was a struggle for the first 12 months, I'm not gonna lie. And in hindsight, I could have saved a lot more money whilst I was a student to help with that. Working in TV and film is a very fast-paced environment. It's a 24-hour situation. There were times when I was working 12-hour shifts, I was working 2 to 3 weeks without a break, simply because a project demanded it or I was broke and I needed money. And I wish I had been more prepared for that, in the sense that I managed my time better. There was a point at the start of my career where I lived to work, which is not okay. Figuring out a work-life balance is probably the biggest difference I've found between being a graduate and being a student. It's a balancing act all the time, and occasionally you have to take stock and figure out where your priorities have changed. And once you've figured that out and you keep on top of it, your life will get 100% better and easier. Off the back of that, I really wish when I'd graduated, I had put more effort into keeping my hobbies up that weren't my work, they were outside of my job. I love theatre, and I now go to the theatre all the time. I love going to the gym. I go to the gym like 3 times a week. I picked up running again, and it's just all these things that enriched my life so much. And then there was a time period when I graduated where I didn't think I had time for those things, and that was absolutely not true. Also, make an effort to keep in touch with the people you graduated with. Like, sometimes it's useful in a career sense, but also just because you're not with them all the time doesn't make them any less of your friends. And just catching up with people, in my experience, is just a lot of fun, and it's stuff like that that has kept my spirits up whilst I was doing my crazy night shifts in the basement, where I did not see sun for a very, very long time. But, you know, I caught up with my friends who were all over the world at this point, and that's just a really nice thing to do. All in all, my experience of graduation is just one variation of graduating. There's been some quite low lows and major highs, and that's just life in general, really. I know people who work in the creative industries and travel the world with their job. I also know people who quit the creative industries and are quite content with jobs outside of it. I know people who study for master's degrees and further education. There's so many possibilities to graduating, and I really wish I had known that. I was really under the impression that you graduate, you get a job, and whilst that did work out for me, it's obviously not the only route you can take. To be honest, I probably wouldn't have done much differently had I known this information, but it really would have taken a weight off my shoulders, because for a long time I was just fixated on getting a job. And that was for many, many reasons, but one of them was I just thought that was what you did when you graduated, and that is not the case at all.